Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our daily word. Our daily word this morning on Wednesday, June the 8th. Wednesday, June the 8th, our daily word. Thank you for joining me as we spend our continued few minutes together about the word. You can see I'm actually in my office this morning. The Red Hat ladies, Crimson Bells, they go by. They are meeting this morning in the fireside room. And so I just in my office this morning. Soon we'll be going to lunch together. So they always choose a good place, and then we share in some lunch together. So thanks for joining me this morning in our continued conversation surrounding the daily word. The scripture I've chosen this morning, it's familiar. We've used it before, but it's familiar. It's these words from Philippians 4:12 through 13. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through Him who gives me strength. So these are the words of Paul. These are the words of Paul to the Philippian church, and for Paul, this is a personal experience that he wants to share with those who would listen. And his idea, well, I guess the word that jumps out at me is, I guess the word that jumps out at me is contentment. He says, and it could be true for all of us, right, as we live our lives. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. And maybe in our lives we've all had that, right? We know what it means to be in need, and we know what it is to have plenty. Diane and I were at the grocery last night, and we were reminiscing when we first moved to Sydney. It'll be 33 years ago pretty soon. Of course, we were in need. We didn't have a pot to pee, and we didn't have two nickels to rub together. But we were content, and it's so funny. We ate a lot of spaghetti in those days. We just ate a lot of spaghetti. So, but last night at Kroger, guess what we bought? Spaghetti. We bought 3 jars of Ragu spaghetti sauce and 5 boxes of pasta, 3 spaghettis and 2 elbow macaronis. And we got home, we were putting them away, and I said, this is pretty cheap. Even with the pasta was 99. The box of spaghetti was 99 cents. The jar of pasta was $1.60. The jar of sauce was $1.66. So, for less than $3, and we obviously the two of us don't eat a whole box of spaghetti. And we laughed about that we still love spaghetti, even though we ate it all the time. We know what it means to be in need, but we also, many of us know what it is to have plenty. But Paul reminds us that there is a secret, he says, to being content, and he's learned it in each and every situation. And the secret to contentment, I believe that Paul preaches to us about, talks to us about, implores us to be about, isn't because we're physically strong or mentally strong. The secret to contentment, Paul says to us, is a spiritual thing. That our faith is the measure of contentment. And we're given the ability, to make a difference in the world and even in our own lives through service and love and worship. And we find contentment in our circumstances because we have the spiritual gift of faith and mercy and grace. And you see, faith transcends all kinds of circumstances. It allows us to find meaning and seize the opportunity in every single situation, in every season, and then to be content. Circumstances, in our lives aren't problems to be solved, and because we have riches, it's not spoils to be enjoyed. But circumstances are invitations, I think Paul says to us, that helps us to grow our faith, that helps us to dare to believe, imploring us to have the courage to take action in the world. The way that we're content, Paul says, is that because we have strength through him, through God, who gives us strength. And so, in our lives, when we struggle, when we think we don't have enough, when we simply want more, and, we just want more, even though we have plenty, we want more. Paul says to us that our spiritual life, our faith life, the secret to be content is because we are spiritual. Because our faith informs our decisions. And I think that's kind of where we are in our life's journey. When we lose sight of that, when we lose sight of what it means to be content right where we are, right in the moment, it's because we have the spiritual gift of faith. And that's our muscle, if you will. And so for us, as we live our lives, as we try to develop spiritually, let's remember that circumstances are an opportunity, an invitation to grow our faith and to trust that God always meets us right where we are. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through Christ who gives me strength. I would hope for us in our lives that we would find contentment, that we would find grace, that our faith, our spiritual life would help us and help us to use what we have and to be good stewards of this spiritual faith life that God's given us. And so I need to hear that often, to be content with what I have and where I am, and that I don't simply just need more stuff, whatever stuff is, and know that God's grace and my spiritual life and my faith journey calls me to live in that kind of way. So I hope that's a good word for all of us today as we live our lives. Reminder tonight, we're going to have our first summer Wednesday night. I know the weather's a little tenuous. There may be thunderstorms. If the thunderstorms are bad and we need to be inside, we'll just be downstairs, so come anyway. Otherwise, we're going to be in the shelter. We're going to talk about the Good Samaritan and how that story then informs our living as well. So if you'll join us at 6 o'clock tonight, we're going to have ham steaks on the grill, some Parmesan potatoes that I like to make, some green beans, some fruit, and we'll just share in great conversation and learning together. So hope you'll join us. So enjoy the beauty of today while the sun is shining. Know of God's love and grace and mercy that surrounds you. Know my love, and I'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Have a great day.